You're holding your own bottle? You're getting so good at this. That's actually pretty full. She could usually do it when it's not as full. Wow.
Well, she grabs it
So
perfect from the beginning.
Yeah.
She kind of starts to lose it like now, but.
Briella, I'm so proud. Hi guys. So today we wanted to talk about our birth story. So how little Briella came into the world. So I have notes on my phone that I want to find actually also, just that kind of gave us like a time stamp of everything. Everything in my phone, sort of, until I couldn't really type anymore because the contractions were so bad. So pre-story, pre-story. So when I was still pregnant with Briella, I was around, what was I, 32 weeks or 30 weeks when
30.
we had to start going. I had to start going like every 2 weeks because to go to the special doctor.
30?
30?
I think so.
That kind of sounds right. So when I was 30 weeks, I went for my normal OBGYN, 30-week appointment. And they were measuring me my entire pregnancy small, but at that 30-week appointment, she was concerned that my stomach was just not, where it was supposed to be. So she wanted me to go to a specialist that deals with, babies who are just a little bit smaller, having a little bit hard, they're just having a little bit trouble growing. So she wanted to make sure if there was any issues, we would, know it then, which I wish we just kind of knew already. I wish we went before 30 weeks, not at, your last trimester, when you think everything is good. My whole pregnancy, I thought I was fine until 30 weeks, which, that was annoying. So I go to the specialist, and they did an entire, sonogram of everything, of every little measurement of Briella. So they really, got every last detail of her. And I saw on the screen as they were doing it, they measured everything. So they would measure her head at how many weeks her head is at, how many weeks her stomach is at, and like her whole body. So they did that, and I saw what they were showing, and she was behind from what I was showing. So you know how the text normally can't tell you anything. So I knew that already just because I'm staring at this huge screen. So the doctor came in after and basically said that at first it was my umbilical cord wasn't giving her enough nutrients. That's what they thought it was. So that's, that's what happened at that appointment. And I was obviously devastated at that. And I was nervous that maybe I wasn't, I just wasn't eating enough or something for her. Cause I was just I wasn't even really that hungry my last trimester. I guess because your stomach is so big and they're pressing on it, you're not as hungry. But I was eating normal, like my normal meals. I wasn't overeating. I hear stories of some pregnant, when you're pregnant, some pregnancies or whatever, they eat a lot. I wasn't really like that.
Yeah, you weren't getting like the weird cravings.
Yeah, I had no cravings. I just was eating like my normal meals. So I don't know. But then after that, now I'm so nervous she's not growing. I was eating so much, like I wasn't even hungry, and I was eating ice cream like every night. Yeah, that was the big I was putting like coconut oil in like these crazy shakes. Everyone
said just eat ice cream every night. That was like the biggest thing people said.
Yeah, so I mean it was fun, but like, I was
oatmeal protein shakes, stuff like that.
It was crazy. He was making me so much food like all day long to try to, gain more weight for her. And I was gaining weight, but I don't think she got any of it. I gained weight. I don't think she got any of it. But so I had to go to, once you get to 30 weeks, you go to the doctor every week, but I had to go now twice a week. So I was going to my normal OB, and then I was going to the specialist, and they were doing those measurements every single week. I got to 36 weeks with them, and they, you know, at that point they no longer thought it was the cord. They thought maybe the placenta, something like she just wasn't getting enough nutrients, and she just wasn't, you know, growing to what they wanted her to grow to. It was actually called something. I'll put it here because I forget. It's like IUGR or something. But I looked it all up. Of course, I Googled everything, every little thing I could to find out what it was, and they said it was like very overdiagnosed. I actually know 2 other people that this happened to, but for me, at the 36-week appointment, the specialist basically said that I need to have the baby now. He was like, you need to, she'll do better outside of the womb, and she's just not growing in there. But as you know, when they do get bigger, the measurements are off also. So that's another thing. So they're measuring her at like 4 pounds at 37.
Yeah, she was like just at 5 pounds, I think.
No, they didn't even measure her at that, right?
Oh, really?
No, it was like 4 something. Remember it was like 4'9"? One time it was 4'16".
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's what I mean though. All the measurements were just a mess. So he gave his final decision. He said that I should get induced and have the baby. That was honestly the hardest decision I had to make, was, you know, to either do that or to not and wait, and I just didn't know what to do. I wanted to do the best thing that I could for her, so I, you know, decided to get induced. And I didn't think it was gonna happen so quickly, because I saw my OB that next day, and they basically said, you're having this baby tomorrow.
Yeah, she was just like, okay, here's when you're coming in, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which was like 2 days from then.
Are you
right?
leaving me?
Yeah, I gave her a break.
Okay. Here.
It was like a day or 2 days from then, right?
Yeah. So, which was just crazy. I thought maybe I'd have like a week to prepare, and mentally, no. It was literally like that next day. So
the next day we had to go to like set it up, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Next day we went to set it up. I loved our hospital. We gave birth at Methodist at Sugarland.
Methodist.
Amazing hospital. I can't say enough amazing things about them. But so we went to set it up. I had to do some blood work and some stuff, and the only thing I didn't like about that day was that one nurse that basically told me I was going to end up having a C-section.
Yeah.
That, you know, why on earth would you scare someone who's about to give birth like that? Not that there's anything wrong with having a C-section, but I wanted to give birth naturally. And of course things could happen, you know, if anything with her health and it had to be a C-section, of course I would have gotten a C-section. But just the fact that she was just like, just basically all of my wishes were just gonna be dismissed, and I was gonna have a C-section. It was just the weirdest thing. And she said it a few times.
Yeah. She just kept saying, like, you know, with the weight, with the smaller babies, like, it's a good chance. She kept saying it.
Yeah. Rihanna, you can't eat your hand. You gotta eat the bottle, silly girly girl. But yeah, so I really didn't want to get induced at all. I wanted to have her naturally. I wanted to feel my water breaking. I wanted to labor at home for a little bit. But, you know, of course, God had other plans, and I wanted to do what, you know, was best for her. So I got induced. So we go into the hospital that night, that night at 10 p.m. I got admitted. Now I was thinking it was gonna be like a little bit more relaxing, but I was admitted, and then at 10:30 I was immediately hooked up to an IV. Oh, real. But I don't even know what I was saying. So
you were hooked up to IVs like immediately.
Oh yeah, so we got admitted at 10 p.m. and I don't know, I just thought it was gonna be a little bit more relaxing. I didn't know what being induced entailed, but I was hooked up to the IV at 10:30, and that was it for me. I was hooked up to that machine and I was stuck to it, and that was it.
Yeah, he brought so much stuff, like we were going on vacation, and then, but the second we went in, it was like go time.
Yeah, I just wasn't expecting that. I don't know. I thought it was gonna just be a little relaxing.
I thought we were gonna like chill out in the room for like a day.
Yeah, I don't know what I thought was gonna happen. But I literally brought a suitcase. I'm gonna put a picture up of what I looked like going there. As soon as I got in there, the nurse asked me, she was like, "Is this your first baby?" And I was like, "How did you know?" Because I am ridiculous, and I literally didn't use like anything I packed. But because it happened so fast.
Yeah, not until like 2 days later.
Yeah. But I'm okay. So at 10:30, I got the IV in, and let me tell you, that IV was horrible. They put it in my wrist and it hurt the entire time, and I didn't get that out until days after. So that was the worst part about labor. Okay, so 10:40 now. I had my first cervical check, and that was horrible. That was really painful, but really just because of the nurse that did it. Like, they say if the nurse has like little hands, that it's gonna hurt more, and if the nurse has like bigger hands, so she had really tiny hands. But that was painful, that cervical check. They don't always all hurt, but that one really, I screamed. I felt like I jumped like 10 feet in the air when she did that. That was horrible. And then, so at 11:05, I got medication to open up my cervix, or to make me dilate. I think you would either get like an insert or an edible one. My friend got the edible one. I got the insert. And it honestly worked almost immediately, because at 11:25, I had a contraction and I didn't even know it. Which is, it has to be from that, because I was 37 weeks, 6 days at this, during this induction. So it was almost 38 weeks. But, and this is when, remember, she came running into the room? That's when, so she came, I had a contraction, didn't feel it. And the nurse came running into the room saying that Briella's heart rate dropped so drastically, but it went right back. That was the only time it dropped that drastically. Every other time it was
Is that when they like put the
they ran in with oxygen, but I didn't use it yet. I didn't use the oxygen yet. They just ran in with it. It was actually really scary, to be honest. I didn't know what I was thinking when they ran in with this oxygen, freaking out. That was scary. But then, so the whole time I was in labor, that was happening. So her heart rate would drop, but then they would just put me in different positions to get it back up. They call it like labor yoga, and it always worked fine. I don't know why that one nurse made such a big deal about it. That, I guess because it dropped so drastically. But that, yeah, so I kind of was doing labor yoga.
It was the first contract, like it was the first time the baby was ever experienced that, so.
Right, and plus, you know,
And she was a little small.
She probably was not ready to be born yet, so she was just like, what is happening? So then at, let me see, now 1 a.m. Oh, so actually, before I go on, so after that, they wanted me to now just see what my body would do for a few hours, because they were just nervous that she wouldn't be able to handle Pitocin. So for a few hours, I was just kind of in limbo, just having, I wasn't feeling any of these contractions. Me and Vin were just hanging out at this point.
Yeah.
And I was like taking funny Snapchat videos for my friends. At this point, I felt nothing. But they were monitoring those contractions and her heart rate. So that was like the beginning of that. And I was just feeling, you know, family and friends in on the nothing that was happening in that moment. So at 1 a.m. I had another small contraction, and I guess I was finally able to go to the bathroom. That's what I wrote, because I was stuck to that IV thing. And that first nurse didn't teach me like how to unplug things, so just bring that with me.
Yeah.
So I was stuck in that bed, and I had to pee every half hour at this point. So that was horrible. And then I wrote 2 to 3 a.m. more contractions. I had to get oxygen then.
That was the scary one.
Yeah.
Because that one I was sleeping.
And you woke up.
And I woke up, and they were like putting oxygen on me and stuff.
Yeah, that was honestly scary too when they came in, but because they were just nervous, her heart rate was going, I guess, a little crazy. So that time I was on oxygen for a very long time. Then woke up, he was sleeping, and woke up to me on oxygen and got very worried.
That was scary.
Yeah, he like ran over to me because he didn't see it happen.
I just open my eyes and see nurses like going crazy, checking stuff, putting the oxygen mask on you.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, that was scary. I've never had oxygen on me, so the whole thing was very, just like a little nerve-wracking, but I wasn't scared. I was just trusting the process. I was like, you know, everything was gonna be fine. I was never scared during labor. I was just very like, let's go with the motions at this point, because you know, all of this is new. I've never done this before. So then at 5 a.m. I started the Pitocin. Then they were like, my body was getting the hang of it. Briella was getting the hang of the contractions, so they were happy with that. So I started the Pitocin. And let me see here. I wrote 5 to 8. I was having contractions. They were monitoring Briella. So 5 a.m. to 8 was just that again, more monitoring. And I was really just waiting for 8 a.m. for my OB to come to the hospital to check to see how dilated I was. And then she broke my water and did a membrane sweep. So during that before time though, so from 5 to 8, the contractions, I could feel them. Now they kind of, I guess, felt like, you know, those period cramps, or if you ever felt the feeling of like a TENS machine on you, but at like a 1. It was not bad, like at all. It was just like your normal period cramps, but I knew that they were happening. Now I was feeling them. So she came in at 8, and I guess so much happened after this. I didn't write it, but when she checked me, I was about 3 centimeters dilated at that point, I think, or maybe 4, something like around there. And so then my OB came, she checked, she did a cervical check. She said I was like around maybe, like I said, 3 to 4 centimeters dilated at that point. And she broke my water, didn't feel that at all, except for, you know, the gush of water that came out of me and then continues to come out of you the entire time you're in labor. And then she did the membrane sweep. I'm not gonna lie, guys, that was painful. I think I screamed for that too. That was bad, but worth it, because after that, so after she did all of that, she left. So now that was 8 o'clock in the morning, guys. Now, I had Briella at 11:39 a.m. that same day. So I went from, now, it's so hard to think back now, because after she left, I started to really feel these contractions. Briella was already so low. I felt her. I knew she was like right there. And now I think they did another cervical check because my contractions were getting so bad and so close together. And the nurse came in and she kept saying, you know, the epidural takes 45 minutes to get once you say you want it. So just make sure you ask for it if you want it. So now my contractions they were bad, but I could have dealt with it. But in my head, I was like, if they're gonna get any worse than this, I wanted to kind of enjoy labor. I didn't want it to be continual pain. I wanted to enjoy a little bit of it. I honestly thought, I thought I was gonna have these contractions, get the epidural, and then be able to relax. I thought I was gonna be in labor for days. So I was like, oh yeah, after this I'll do my makeup, maybe we'll take some cute pictures, like in the hospital, like such stupid things I was thinking in my head. Yeah, it was just crazy. So they checked.
And we didn't know, like,
no,
because afterwards when you got the epidural, the what's it called? What's that doctor called? The anesthesiologist. He was like, he knew when he came in the room, and he was like, you know, like afterwards he told us like, yeah, I knew you were gonna have the baby in like an hour when I came in, or 2 hours.
I'm surprised they gave me an epidural.
Yeah.
Actually, because of because of how it happened. Yeah. So you talking? This is about how you came into the world. So yeah, so I don't even know how to explain it, but so I was in so much pain. Now
but everyone around us knew you were going into labor except for us. They like knew it was happening.
Well, they knew I was about to give. Yeah, but why was no one? Right after they were like, oh yeah, we knew. Why wouldn't you tell us?
They like knew it was gonna happen like within an hour.
Even
2 hours.
During this,
we didn't know,
because my contractions from, let's just say now, from 8 to 9. My contractions were back to back to back to back. Yeah. There was no breathe. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak to them.
He couldn't put the epidural in because they were so close together.
Right. So the nurse said it was going to take 45 minutes, I was like, okay, order it now. Order the epidural now. I'm not trying to be a superhero. I want to enjoy some of labor. So she puts in the request. An hour and a half goes by. Now I am on, it felt like death's door, honestly. Vin was like beside himself because I've never been that like vulnerable honestly before, or like in that much pain before. But in the beginning it was fine because you had that time before, you'd have the contraction, you know, get through it, and then you're like, okay, I have a few minutes now to whatever.
They were so close together.
These, I couldn't even, the nurse kept asking me to move, to do things. There was no moving, there was no doing things, there was just bracing myself for these back to back to back contractions. But so now I think 2 hours later now, so now it's 10, no, after 10, it's after 10 at some point. The anesthesiologist finally comes to give me this epidural. Now, I don't know how they even gave it to me. I don't know how, I'm surprised he did it because he had to give it to me in between contractions of seconds. So normally you get, I think they give you a shot or something to numb your back, which I think he did give me something to numb it, but it didn't work because I felt that epidural go in, and that was another moment in my labor where I screamed in pain. He was actually shocked.
Yeah, that one you yelled.
And he got mad actually at me because I moved, of course. I mean, I could have paralyzed myself, but I wasn't expecting it. Everyone that I knew had told me they didn't feel the epidural at all. So I wasn't, it was a shock. And it was in the seconds of me not having pain from a contraction. So it was just like, I couldn't win in that moment. But so now it has to be like, it's 11 something now, and the epidural did not work. It's not working. It's my body, she's done. She's ready to go. Briella is just right there. The nurses checked me, and I was at,
the next nurse that came in said, oh, like,
yeah, she was like, what is going on? Like, you're having this baby right now, which that's the moment I was like, oh my gosh, she's coming in. Now my legs are in the stirrups, and I'm just in complete shock at what's happening. The anesthesiologist had to come back in to give me like another burst of the epidural. It finally started kicking in. They checked me again. I'm at 10 centimeters, like +3, which means the +3 is her head position. So she was right there. She was ready to come out. They said, Vin, come here. Check. Look, you could see her head, all of her hair. And it was just crazy. At this point, the epidural finally kicked in. So now I'm having the time of my life. I'm up there with my legs in the stirrup for the whole world to see everything. Laughing away because I was finally just like not in pain. But we had to wait for my doctor to come, and I really wanted to wait for her. I didn't want to give birth without her. So even though if I even sneezed, Brielle would have came right out. They were literally like, just do nothing. So the doctor came running in, putting her scrubs on. Like, it was crazy. They started lifting the table because my OB was so tall. So I was all the way up here, just spread eagle. It was crazy. A few pushes and...
You didn't even feel anything. You didn't even know you were pushing.
No,
right?
I couldn't feel the pushes at all.
You were laughing.
I was laughing because they kept telling me how good I was doing.
She was just laughing.
And I was hysterically laughing because I was just like, how am I doing good? I felt nothing. I was just like squeezing, like you can't feel anything, because at that point all the epidural really kicked in. So there was just
the doctor was like, look, she's laughing.
Yeah, it was so funny. But yeah, and a few pushes, maybe
What happened?
2 or 4 or something, like, I don't know.
It was very fast.
She was here, and
I think it was like 4, maybe.
Maybe 4.
Yeah, maybe 4 times.
I pushed. It was with the contractions, but mine, like I said, were like back to back. So she literally would just say, "You're about to have a contraction. Push." It would be push, 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 push. Breathe. Push. Like it wasn't. I don't know. I've heard other people have contractions a little bit differently, or pushing differently. But that's how I pushed, and I don't know how I pushed. I don't know. They say to push like you poop, but I couldn't feel anything. I have no idea how I pushed. I just did a squeezing motion that I thought maybe was me pushing, and I guess it was, because everything worked out. Yeah, it was crazy wild ride of how she got here. I couldn't believe it. So
10
it
o'clock
took,
at night
I was
to
in
11:40 the next day.
Yeah,
That's it. 11:40 in the morning.
Yeah, 11:39.
11:39.
That's it. She was born at 5 pounds 9 ounces, and I had asked beforehand because I was really scared that they were going to send her to the NICU, because we're thinking she's 4 pounds, but they were telling us the whole time. So they took her away immediately right after I pushed her out to put her on that scale, just to make sure, that she was okay. And as soon as I saw that it said 5 pounds 9 ounces, I just started hysterically crying, and I just wanted my baby immediately. I was like, give me my child. Like, no one's taking her away from me. She's... Whew. Okay, guys, the camera... the memory card was full. I literally had to figure out, there was a whole memory card issue. There was a lot has happened. But that is the birth story. The last thing I said was that Briella, they handed me Briella, and I was just like, she's mine. No one's gonna take her from me. And it was just the best moment of my life ever. It was just magical. And the nurses were so nice. They were taking pictures and videos the whole time.
Yeah.
They just took your phone, right?
Yeah.
And they were amazing. I have to say, the nurses at Methodist at Sugarland were...
And then we were there for what, 3 more days?
Yeah, we were there for 3 more days. I didn't tear or rip or anything, nothing.
Yeah, they just like wanted us to stay, just to like...
Well, they were monitoring Briella to make sure that she was... that could be a whole other video, honestly. But they just wanted to make sure that she was eating enough. We had a whole... like I said in another video, that I was making a lot of milk, well at that time colostrum, but she wasn't latching, so I had to, they were just nervous that she wasn't getting enough, and it was a whole thing. So that's why we stayed, just so that they could monitor her like blood sugar and stuff.
But it was great.
But it was amazing.
We had a huge room. It was like being in a hotel.
I didn't want to leave. I honestly felt like I was at a resort. I was having the time of my life there, with the room service, with the I had even everyone, the lactation consultants coming in to help me. They gave me so much stuff. They gave me a pump. They gave me all these like gadgets to try to get her to latch, all these things. It was amazing.
Everyone was really helpful.
They even gave me a swaddle, a halo swaddle for her too. Everything. It was great. I was scared to go home at that point, because I was like, we're having so much help. Obviously we live here now with no help, so I was scared to leave, but obviously.
I just had to keep going back with Theo.
It's okay, baby. Yeah, he had to keep going back for Theo, but he even had like the biggest couch bed thing. It was...
And it's not far from the house, so...
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
I was so scared of afterbirth, of the postpartum journey, that I wasn't scared of labor at all. I was more scared for after. I literally bought everything. I bought everything to heal down there beforehand, which I don't recommend doing. Just see what happens to you and then buy your postpartum care. But yeah, that is our birth story. Briella.
It happened fast.
I'm sorry, I know so much time has passed now. I feel bad. She wants to play and stuff. So we're gonna go, but thanks for listening. And if you're about to give birth, even though a lot of things that happened to me either hurt or maybe were scary at the time, it's all worth it. It's all worth it once you have your baby in your arms. You forget about everything, about all the pain. I would do it 100 times to have more Briella. Okay. But yeah, we're gonna go. But see you guys in the next one. Bye.